Weapons. I have definitely missed playing this game and kind of hope to honestly get back into it a little bit. Um, it was definitely a good battle royale that I enjoyed because of the high mobility and just it's very different, vampires feeding on people and some of the weapons and everything. So we are going to try to place these in the correct spots, obviously. So please let me know where you guys would place them. I'm going to start with this death machine in A. I think obviously it's very good, does a high amount of bullets and damage so long as you can, kind of get set up and in a nice spot. But that is kind of the downside of it, is that I feel like it makes you a pretty easy target and it's not necessarily the best to have all the time. Plus it's very hard to get in general anyway. So overall, just consistency, I can't really put it in S, even though it is pretty much a legendary type weapon. The pistol that you start with obviously is just garbage 90% of the time. You're not going to win fights with it. I'm going to put the melee weapons in C, those two at least, just because if you are running some sort of melee, you're probably not going to run these. Honestly, I'm probably going to put them in D. But I am going to put both of these melee weapons in B because if you are running the right type of um, melee weapon type comp, those are very good, that you can dash with these and do some damage, or that you can block stuff with a katana and run up and then do high melee damage if you have that um, you know blood-sucking archetype. So there's definitely some pros to using those. I know that they have nerfed them at times. I don't know where they stand at this point, being November of 2022, but overall can definitely still a viable thing to use. The Tommy gun, I'm going to put in B. I think it's pretty solid overall, especially like medium to close range. There's definitely some better weapons to use for medium or close or even far, but as an overall gun, it's very consistent. You're gonna dish out a whole lot of bullets, hopefully hit them, and depending on what weapon they have and if you shot first, you're more than likely gonna do pretty well in that fight. This single crossbow I'm gonna put in C. It's just way too inconsistent. It's not gonna really be a huge difference maker. Way too easy to get away from and not deal with, and it doesn't do enough damage to really even be used in my opinion. But in team fights sometimes that's kind of like a little bit of a difference maker, especially to force some people wherever you would like them to go. The burst rifle from the entities is honestly very lackluster. Never been impressed with it. I'll give it a B, just because you can single tap it or burst it, and it is okay. But for a weapon that you only get from the entities, and it's almost always a purple one. It's not even that good. There's so many better weapons, but you know, it can be useful at times. The revolver, I'm going to put in B. The reason I can't really put it any higher or lower is if you do end up hitting your shots, you're doing high damage, especially in the head. But if you don't, you obviously only have a few, and then you're kind of screwed, especially in a team fight, if you're playing trios. So just be careful with it. It's definitely good at times, but obviously not always the best. Dual pistols, I'll honestly put in B2. I think they're pretty solid because you have so many bullets, and um, the not needing to reload is decent. As far as out damaging someone, you're definitely going to have to be the person that shoots first, be relatively medium to close range, and hit your shots. But it can be pretty useful, especially early game. These are definitely more of an early game solid choice pickup weapon. The later the game goes, not so much, but overall, solid choice. These dual crossbows, I'm going to put an A. I don't really think I can put them in S. The reason being is that there's only a few shots while they do very high damage and they explode in an area and can definitely get you some kills and win you some solo or team fights. They're just a little too inconsistent, especially if you're not aiming them correctly. And I am not fully sure on this, but I don't know, and I don't know if they've switched it that you might take self-inflicted damage from it, or at least a little bit. I'm not fully sure on that, but still, very, very solid choice pickup, especially if they're purple, but just kind of be careful with them. Definitely have a good secondary weapon with you if you can, but not too bad. Ooh, the marksman rifle. I'm gonna have to put in B also. It's just lackluster. It's not really better than many of the guns, but especially early game, it can compete. The later the game goes, if you want long range, grab a sniper, grab a type, even the AK, and do those instead, or maybe even the burst. But early game solid, especially for a longer range weapon. But they're just way better weapons, whether it's semi-auto or fully auto, it doesn't really matter. The pump shotgun and the double barrel, I have to put both in A. I know that they definitely nerfed the pump, but still, if you hit that shot, you do so much damage, especially in a solo fight, and even in a team fight, to get that close to someone and basically have them down or essentially super low can definitely help you win the fight. And same with the double barrel, to be able to dish out so much damage instantly is huge. The biggest problem with both of these, and honestly why they're not in S, is just because now you have to insanely take 5 minutes to like reload per shell with this shot. And the double barrel, if you miss even one of the two shots, it's going to be an inconsistent fight. You definitely have to be prepared to, switch weapons or do something to make sure that they go down at least before you do. But still very solid in this game where a lot of the fights are very close range, and definitely a solid choice. The LMG, I have to put an A just because having that much ammo in one clip in this game is huge. Especially because of the high mobility, you're gonna be inconsistent with some bullets, but it does pretty solid damage, pretty good range, overall a solid weapon choice. The only downside is that it's going to take up a lot of your ammo, so if you're running double AR ammo, be careful with that. Plus, you can't really aim in that well. The spread is kind of large sometimes, so overall just be careful with it. It's definitely still a very good choice, whether it's solo or trios, but be up there. Um, the sniper rifle, honestly, I have to put in B. Um, and it sucks because even if you're hitting headshots, they're not going to go down unless they're already injured. And that's what really sucks about it, which I can understand somewhat from a game perspective, that you don't want every sniper bullet that hits somebody in the head makes them, go down, but it just kind of sucks that it is at that point. So it does take two shots, essentially, no matter what, to drop somebody with a sniper rifle. And yeah, that's basically why it's in B. It's so satisfying to hit people with it in general, let alone down someone, whether it's in the head or the body. But it just honestly doesn't do enough damage to warrant it being higher to hit those types of shots in a high mobile game. The MP5 or 7, I forget what they call it in this game. The submachine gun. This one is hard. I think I'll give it the nod to A. I think it's probably, aside from shotguns, the best close range weapon in the game, so long as you have it high, but the high mobility and bullet, nah, I gotta drop it to B. It's just way too inconsistent no matter how high of a tier the weapon itself you have. Um, it's still very good. I would probably take it over almost all of these weapons, also depending on what my other weapon is, but still it's definitely like up there in choice of weapons, but you know, is it better than most of these weapons consistently? Yeah, but is it better than the rest of these? Not so much, and I'm just going to finish it off with here. The AK is definitely just high damage, high bullet velocity, can compete with any weapon in the game at any distance basically. I have to put it in S just because I think it is that good. If you're close range, you're going to do enough high damage, especially if you shoot first, to probably drop them faster than they will drop you. Can use it as a pretty decent medium to long range weapon. Definitely it's a medium range gun, but long range you can still kind of be okay. And honestly, I'll put the type up there too. I think the type is probably overall the most versatile and consistent gun in the game because it can do virtually any range. A little more lackluster in the closer range that you get, but as far as distance and damage and how much bullet consistency is coming out of the gun, it's definitely always a solid choice, and it will definitely, both will help you win any fight you run into, whether solo or trios. Both very high picks in my opinion of what I would always want to be running if possible, and definitely looking to switch out for some of these other weapons down here and even some of the A's. Um, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know. Check out my archetype video as well for Bloodhunt. I do need to get back into this game, so let me know what you guys think, where you guys would place anything, and let me know your thoughts on where I did. And we will catch you in the next one.